There are already countless review and test and setup videos on YouTube already that I'm sure are really great, but I want to go against the grain and share a personal perspective from a creator and give some pros and cons as to why you may or may not want to choose Shure's latest SM7DB microphone as your new daily driver. Real quick though, what do we think of the new pottery mug? I picked this up not too long ago. I'm digging it. Also, this video is not sponsored. I bought the Shure microphone with my own hard-earned Canadian loonies, and to be honest, even if I was sent the microphone for free, my unfiltered opinion is still coming out regardless. I want to be fully transparent and say that I am not a technology elitist. And what I mean by that is whether you're just a hobbyist or a professional producer, just buy the gear that you want. All right, this list of pros is in no particular order, but I'm going to start off with the SM7DB having a built-in preamp. And although that makes this microphone a little bit more money than its predecessor, this also saves you some money in not having to buy an expensive XLR interface, an inline preamp like the Cloud Lifter that's very popular. Having a built-in preamp basically means that the switch on the back of the microphone gives a boost to the audio gain, so you're just easier to hear. Other than that, these two microphones, I'm talking about the old SM7B and the new SM7DB, are virtually identical. The second thing I would mention is the durability and build quality. There's no questioning the fact that this microphone is premium, from the powder coating to the screws to the switches. It's like the Rolls-Royce or Bentley of microphones. My L3 mechanical keyboard is one of the nicest keyboards I've ever used, and I'm very happy to pair these two premium devices together. Next, I'll mention versatility for different audio applications. And what I mean by that is there are different microphones that are better for voiceovers or instrumentals or live streaming. And I would say this microphone checks all of those boxes extremely well. So although this is on the upper end of pricing, you may end up saving money by not having to buy different microphones and some headache of managing all of the inputs into your audio device. Noise isolation is also a big one. You can put this microphone in almost any environment, an untreated environment like a home office or small studio, and the microphone is going to sound great. In contrast to something like the Blue Yeti, for example, you need to have a very isolated room with no background noise, or else you're going to hear literally a pin drop on the floor. I would even go as far to say that the SM7DB, you have to try to make sound bad, or else it's just not in the internals. The last point I'll mention is a bit of a controversial take, but I think that you are going to look more professional using this microphone. Now, when I was a teenager getting into the workforce, people used to tell me to dress for the job you want. I'm not sure if they still give this advice, but I would put this microphone in that category. Because if you're trying to produce professional content or you're trying to land a big client, having a professional sounding and looking microphone on the other end of your camera is definitely worth something. It's hard to quantify, but if you know, you know. Now, moving into the cons, it was honestly hard to put together this list, but I'll start off with the SM7DB has a bit of a learning curve. You can't just plug and play and away you go. There's going to be settings and EQ and compression to configure, and if you're the type of person that doesn't like to deal with that stuff, you just want to plug it in and use it, this is probably not the microphone for you. You also need two accessories just to use the darn thing. You're going to need a high quality boom arm, and you also need an XLR interface. So those are two additional costs just to even use this thing out of the box. That kind of touches on my next point, is that there's no getting around the fact that this thing is bulky. If you have a small workspace in a corner of a living room, for example, the microphone is going to occupy a little bit more visual real estate that some might like. The SM7DB also might be overkill for some setups. Now, I am never going to be the person to tell you how to spend your money, but I will say that it's a better investment to have a up-to-date NVIDIA video card or 64 gigabytes of RAM or really fast hard drives than having a premium top-tier microphone. At the end of the day, you can do you, but if you're using an older computer rig, it's a better investment to be upgrading that versus buying a new microphone. The last thing I'll mention is a big one, but also not really. The SM7DB doesn't have a mute button. Now, even the budget-friendly Blue Yeti has a dedicated mute button, which I used to use all the time to mute a quick sneeze or a cough. And a workaround I've thought of is I picked up the Elgato foot pedal macros. This was really cheap on Amazon on a lightning deal. And just with the weight of my left foot, I can now have a global mute on my microphone. You know, there's a weird crossover that not a lot of content creators like to talk about online, and that's where technology, certain technology, can actually help you get more views and more engagement and better audience retention. It's kind of like having better seating at a nice restaurant where it's not necessarily going to make the food taste better, but you're going to have a better meal experience if you're comfortable sitting down. And in the case of a microphone, your content is going to be the same, but the viewing experience for your customers and fans is going to be heightened and more enjoyable. Depending on when you're watching this, I could be live streaming right now, so I'll leave some links in the description if you want to ask any questions or just come hang out. I'm also in Discord basically every single day. If you found this video helpful, I'm sure you know how to show some love to the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, Derek out.